Right. Welcome, everyone. Hope you're having a great day so far. Thank you so much for joining the POCUS Certification Academy for today's POCUS Bites webinar. My name is Daria, and I will be your webinar host today. The webinar is now beginning, so all lines have been muted. Please use the Q&A box for any questions or the chat box for comments you have throughout the webinar. Today's topic is Ultrasound Unleashed, Crafting Engaging POCUS Games for Enhanced Learning, and our speaker is Dr. Heesun Choi. Welcome, Dr. Choi. As an emergency medicine ultrasound director at Kingman Regional Center since 2020, Dr. Choi brings expertise honed through the Emergency Medicine Ultrasound Fellowship at UC Irvine. With a passion for innovative education, she organized 3 annual Sono Olympics for the Emergency Medicine Residency Program at Kingman Regional Medical Center, along with 2 Sonolympics for Arizona ITLS conferences targeting EMS professionals. Additionally, she has pioneered virtual escape room for POCUS, including the Zombie Cruise Ship virtual escape room. Her focus lies in cultivating a deeper appreciation for POCUS education and devising more engaging learning experiences. Welcome, Dr. Choi. We're so excited to have you here with us today.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the Sono Olympic journey. I am Heesun Choi. I had been the director of emergency medicine ultrasound for Kingman Regional Medical Center and the emergency medicine residency program, and I hosted 5 total of Sono Olympics in a community hospital in a small rural hospital. My Sono Olympic initiative began as a response to the lack of exposure to ultrasound technology in community and rural hospital. No previous competition to draw from, I embarked on a journey of innovative and creativity to increase interest on the importance of point-of-care ultrasound and education. So hopefully my experience of creating and preparing, organizing and hosting this Sono Olympic in a small rural hospital, not an academic center, with the lack of resources, give you encouragement for you to do that for your program, schools, and educational program. And my Sono Olympic was designed not only for the emergency medicine residency, but also for the people who had a minimal exposure to point-of-care ultrasound. I have hosted Sono Olympic for firefighters, search and rescue medics, paramedic, and sheriff, and they had no previous experience on ultrasound. I gave them 30 minutes of short education, and they were able to compete and have fun. And the point of Sono Olympic is to have fun and make them engaged in a small group to learn each other and play with the ultrasound probe. And this is the example of Arizona ITLS in 2022. First, no financial disclosure to report for this presentation. I have no relationship with any vendors and ultrasound machines that I'm going to discuss today. So today's learning objective: design and implement a dynamic Sono Olympics program tailored for non-academic residency program, community hospital education, and pre-hospital EMS education, fostering a competitive yet collaborative learning environment. Identify a variety of interactive games suitable for POCUS education, ranging from skill building challenging to team-based competition. So first, if you have never hosted, managed any competition, let the game begin. So you have to think about where you're gonna host your game. The venue could be your hospital, lecture hall, or classroom, or hotel. So you have to know your venue, where you're gonna host it. And you have to gauge your learner's education level. Is this for high school students? Is this for undergraduate or resident physician who has multiple exposure to POCUS and they're competent in their POCUS skills, to somebody who had never used point of care ultrasound in their medical practice? It could be any specialties, and it could be, again, pre-hospital EMS systems as well, like firefighters, search and rescue, and even sheriff. And now the next important thing is to estimate participant number and select your theme. Like some of them call it Sono War, and they wear as a Star Wars costume. You can make a zombie outbreak and make a zombie like clothes. I made it Sono Olympic. Therefore, everyone's wearing referee shirt and judges shirt, and they get to decorate themselves. So this is for the community hospital, small rural hospital. This is not for the 100 participant. So I'm gonna give you small numbers. So if you have 10 participants, it's preferred to have a grouped into team of 2, and you will have a total of 5 teams. If you have 15 participants, then you will group into teams of 3. So 3 people will be grouped into 1 team. My initial Sono Olympic started as teams of 8, teams of 10, and the number gets larger. As your number gets larger, you will need more stations. So just for the 10 participants, you will need a minimum of 5 POCUS learning stations plus 1 registration station. Each station cycle takes approximately 45 minutes, 5 minutes for game explanation. So the referee will give them a clear explanation how game will play, and 30 minutes for the game itself that they will compete, about 30 minutes, and 5 minutes for scoring, and 5 minutes for the rotation and moving to the next station. So each station will require 1 judge or referee, 1 live model, or your props, or for whatever that you need to scan. Instructions for judges or referees, you will need to make a very clear instructions for the referees and judges, and score sheets per team, per station. So the judges will have a score sheet for each team member. So when the team comes to their station, they will write down the team name and they will score their performance. And the judges and referees will keep it until the entire competition is done. You will also need additional personnel, perhaps 2 mediator for the registration and overall flow. So 1 mediator will register your learners, and 1 mediator will work on time flow. You will need at least 5 ultrasound machines for 5 stations, and you will also need to think about fundings for prizes for 1st and 2nd, 3rd places. The prizes are really important. It really motivates learner to compete in a game. My first 2 prizes for the Sono Olympic were butterfly handheld ultrasound machines. So you can tell that the competition was very, very high, and learners will really practice their POCUS before the Sono Olympics. And this is the example of a blueprint. When you're preparing for Sono Olympic or any competition for you, it will show when, where, participant, referees, and Sono Olympic maps. So my first Sono Olympic in 2021, I only had 3 stations and I only had 3 ultrasound machines. That's why I only had 3 stations and prizes and all. Second Sono Olympic, I had more station. I believe I had a total of 7 stations at this time. and more games. And in 2023, last year, I had a total of 9 stations. So the progression of creating bigger Sono Olympic, more station, and getting sponsors and vendors help you to create those bigger games. Tips for making your Sono Olympic operation go smooth is to have a dedicated photographer. It's just so much easier to have somebody take pictures of the event and capturing this moment for the promotion. You will really need these promotions so that you can get more sponsorship and vendors for your next Sono Olympic. As you saw on my first Sono Olympic, I had no sponsors, no vendors, and I had a very limited number of stations. However, because of this promotion, Instagram and pictures, next year I had a little more sponsorship, little more volunteers, and more competition. So game become more variety. You will also need an ultrasound model guideline. Usually the models are volunteering. It could be your family member, it could be your staff, or anybody working. You would need to create some kind of guideline and clear instruction for their comfort and safety. And you will need a lot of towels, pillow, blanket, water, tissues for the models, a lot of ultrasound gel, timekeeper who can have a whistles or timer, something loud to tell 5 minutes remaining, 10 minutes remaining, so that everyone moves at the same time. You will also need a modulator going around each station to ask like how many minutes left for this station, how many minutes left for the next station, so that you can tell them you will have a 5 minutes gap so you can go to the bathroom during the time. So you can help each team what they can do. For you as the person who's creating and organizing and managing this game, your job should be overseeing this entire game, going to help if there is any errors, answering the question, and just participate in it as a whole game. So what kind of object you can do? This so much possibilities. Any subject that you can scan with your ultrasound probe can be part of your learning objective and game. And even you can put the procedural ultrasound skills and anything. So here's some examples: trauma, abdomen, pulmonary, ocular, vascular, cardiac, soft tissue, muscular, and female and male reproductive organs. Please don't have live model scanning reproductive organs. Let's keep the game very modest, and let's make sure everyone is comfortable. If you do want to add this, please use phantoms or non-live models. So I'm going to give you more specific example of how I created a game. One of my favorite game is called Eat Fast, Fast. So participant will perform Eat Fast accurately and swiftly, covering right upper quadrant, subxiphoid, left upper quadrant, pelvic, and right and left upper anterior lung views. And both players, because we have 2 on each team, both players will perform E-fast and the time taken will be measured. And scoring criteria: 1 point for correctly performing E-fast in the specific order, 1 point for identifying all critical anatomical findings in each view, verbally articulating their observation. For example, in a right upper quadrant view, I find Morrison's pouch, diaphragm, superior and inferior pulse of kidney and liver. So this would be the basic level of E fast and fast. And this is the level that I used to play in a competition for the EMS paramedics and undergraduate students with a minimum exposure to ultrasound. You can guide them through, you can they had a lot of fun, and this could be your basic game. And here is when you make this game, I usually make the example of the correct view so they can look and they can copy, or they can try to reproduce those images that is already shown, which is very helpful when you're creating games for the people who has no POCUS education exposure. Now, how do I make it more challenging and more fun for the people who already had a lot of experience in POCUS, like an ER resident physician? So I added a physical game that has nothing to do with this ultrasound, but I made them do the hockey sack challenge. Each player must play hockey sack at least 3 to 5 times, and time is a measure for each player's performance. So before they are able to perform EFAST, they have to perform the hockey sack.
Yeah, Alex just did it. You saw it, right?
So he's one of the senior residents. He's excellent at EFAST. He can perform EFAST correctly, accurately, less than 15 seconds. But because of this physical challenge, his time will be similar to the intern who had less experience to expose EFAST. On top of that, to make the EFAST game even more challenging, I added one more game to it. It's a Squid Game station with EFAST Fest. So similar to the previous hockey sack game, learners must engage in one of the Squid Game plays to flip the dakji. This just adds on elements of excitement and challenge.
You gotta get it. Does that mean he dies? How does this work? Yeah. Like,
so before they do the hockey sack, now they have to flip the dakji, and then they get to do the hockey sack. And trust me, people get very competitive in this simple physical competition activity.
yeah, you still got.
Bro, I've never had this sack before in your life.
I'm just saying, we still on the same show.
And this would be the score sheet for the referee to have. You have a team name and how the time spent for the flipping dakji and 5 hockey sack and EFAST scoring. Another game that I like, which can be used for the people who has minimal exposure to people have very, very high exposure. Participant, so this is basically skills of soft tissue, finding foreign body, identifying depth and shape of foreign bodies. You will have to make your own gelatin gel for this game. And I'm not a baker. I'm not at making jello or anything like that. Took me hours. It took me 12 to 24 hours to even come close to making it, and a lot of trial. Now I'm gonna share with you. So I buy these little animals, which has very distinctive shape, and I use these letters. So for the minimal exposure to POCUS, like paramedics and firefighters, I will only use the animal. For the physicians, I will use the letters plus animal. So for example, I will make the letters for the ultrasound terminology, and I will add that with the animal. We'll need a lot of jellos. You will need, for this one box, one container, you will need at least 4 jellos. And you need to use your milk. It's really hard to make the milk get unified or do things because I'm not good at baking. You can see that this is a failure of jellos, many jellos. And usually this object float in a jello, so you will have to make a multiple layers, put the foreign body, make the first layer jello settle, and make the second layer on top of it. And They are firefighters and search and rescuer playing this foreign body safari. They had no experience of point of care ultrasound. But they were able to identify long, sharp, and the shapes of ultrasound findings, and they were able to identify those animals. And this was voted as one of their favorite games. And this is for the resident physician. You can see that there are more animals and letters, and they squeeze so hard that the jello usually at the end got destroyed. But this was one of the most difficult stations for them. Another game that I always put it on my Sono Olympic is Drunk on Us station, meaning there were players who will wear kaleidoscope challenge. They'll wear these goggles that just make them act like they're drunk or they can't really see. So they'll wear this goggle, and you can have a variety of these games. For example, someone will wear a goggle, hold the ultrasound probe, not allowed to see the monitor of ultrasound. The other player will read and answer questions and give a direction how to scan the specific organ in questions. And you can make it simple like that, or you can make it even more difficult, saying there are words that they are allowed to use and not allowed to use. For example, they are allowed to use superior, inferior, medial, lateral, bend through, rotate clockwise, but they are not allowed to use go up and down, left and right. So here are some examples of wearing this goggles, beer goggle. I call it beer goggles. And you can see in the back of this picture, he was the photographer that I used starting second year of Sono Olympic and taking pictures. And on the second picture, you can see one player and the other player in the back trying to look at the ultrasound screening, explaining to the sonographer or the player to find this specific organs. Same thing here, one player trying to scan, the other player looking at the screen, try to make the perfect image. And again, this was for the firefighters. You give them a little more direction. The referee is holding an instruction paper and picture. You give them a picture and tell them, can you replicate this image? What organ do you think this is? And replicate, and you let them play as well. Additional idea for station, you can have a vascular scavenger hunt, have a question to identify different vasculature structure, identify anatomical structure, what's right next to. You can do IV access challenge, pathologic quizzes, virtual escape room. Here is they are playing the virtual escape room. They are stuck in this office area and they are not allowed to get out of it until they escape from the virtual escape room on computer that they are playing. You can do PowerPoint quizzes and ultrasound terminology games. Here is another example of a game that they are not allowed to touch the ultrasound probe and has to use this long arm to scan. And you can incorporate your research project in this Sono Olympic. When you're in a rural hospital and community hospital, it is really hard to have volunteers and people together to do your research. And I incorporated some of research into Sono Olympic so I can do Sono Olympic and also research data gathering. So these are the example of my research. I did the gel versus lotion, runners and IVC, ocular research, and competency research. So general tip for game and make game unique and enjoyable. There is no limit. You can create and incorporate any games that you like. Engage judge volunteers, models, and vendors. utilize Sono Olympic as an opportunity for vendors to show their new machines. And that's how I was able to invite Mindray and Sono Sims that they wanted to show their new machine to the hospital or to the program, and this would be the perfect time to bring their machines and show us to play with it. Then we will want to buy it, or the hospital would like to buy it because we have a photographer, we have a promotion. So that's how I ask these companies that I'm hosting Sono Olympic. I need this, how many ultrasound machines would you be willing to come here and show your machines? For the Sono Sims, I really loved their live cases, and I created 30 actual live cases and find the pathology picture put together for the Sono Sims to use in other program and other education programs. So we kind of help each other. So by me working on those cases, they benefit and I benefit. So this is a Sono Sim stations. This was voted as their favorite station. The models had stickers on her, and the probe, when you put the probe on a sticker, in certain cases will show specific positive pathologies. So for example, I will give a case 24-year-old female arrived with EMS after critical trauma from MBC, unstable vital sign, and they will perform EFAST or find a free fluid, and I can actually find the live image of the pathology with the Sono Sim. So this would be the example, one of the cases. So the first sentence says, this 61-year-old male presents with a complaint of chest pain and shortness of breath following fall from second-story balcony, vital signs, and the referee will tell them, please perform EFAST exam. And this is not be shown to the learners or participant. This is for the referee. And my goal for the referee, they are volunteering their valuable time as well. And I would like to make it as easy as possible for them to just walk in the day and just do the judging. I don't want them to spend any time studying and learning to become a referee. And I don't want referee to feel burdened to be an expert on POCUS. I want them to feel comfortable to participating and volunteering this game. So I write down all the details so they don't have to know. So this is trauma case 1, left side pneumothorax, 1 point, M-mode barcode sign, and pneumothorax. So the participant has to verbalize this answer. If they don't get it. They don't get the points. And I make this score sheet very detailed for the referees. And here is an example of them going, and the station name. I think that naming the station and decorating is important, and this is called the dumpster fire. And this is all the typical crazy cases that they have to solve. And this is train wrecks, and this is another complicated cases that they have to go through. And you can see on this ultrasound with a bladder with a positive free fluid, and they will have to come up with diagnosis and treatment plan as well. And again, the scoring system is very important. You have to provide a very accurate scoring system because they get the player and participant can get very frustrated and they get very competitive. It doesn't matter who they are. Everyone's so competitive in a medical field. You have to make sure that your scoring system is transparent and as accurate as possible. I try to give autonomy to the referees. I tell them, here is a score sheet. Here is the idea. You can make your own station. However, you have to make sure that you score exactly same for every single team. And here is another example, drunken score sheet. And the question, I write down the question, I write down the answer, and there is how many seconds and the points. I also love to use Canva to make blueprints and maps for the referees and people volunteering models to understand what's going on. And this is one of the examples that I drew for 2022 Sono Olympic. I make a conference room. It literally shows where the model's laying down, where the instructor's supposed to stand, where the ultrasound would be, and name. And this is another location, games, and what's going on. So as the creator and organizing this Sono Olympic, the more detail that you prepare, it's less work for the volunteers or the referee participating, and they will be happy to participate again next year and help you out. For the registration, it's the beginning of the game. So learners select their own team members and team create their own unique team name. I give points for their fun names, and all the participant learners, they come up with so many creative fun names that I could ever imagine. So it's one of the fun part, and you let them decorate. This year I had head glasses and all this costume. If you have more funding, that you can have like outfits and gown and all that stuff. I didn't have so much fundings because again, this is not for the academic center. This is for the rural hospital. So I couldn't, I used a lot of my personal money to create these games. And I know that once the game is done, a lot of costume will not be able to reused. But if you can gather fundings, it's much more fun to have more costume and props. Fun hat, glasses, wig, and cape, face painting, temporary tattoo, hairband, wristband, and t-shirt, all fun stuff. So in summary, if you have 10 learners, form 5 teams, require a minimum of 5 stations plus registration, allocate 45 minutes per station plus minus minute buffer, total of 4 to 5 hours for five stations. Each station, multiple station, if you have more station, that's better. Sonosim station is usually very difficult and challenging station. I only use it for the people who has experience in POCUS and experience in clinically. It takes about 60 to 90 minutes. You can create how many games and what kind of games you want. Just make it really fun. Don't make it too difficult, or maybe make it really, really difficult. Again, because in a rural hospital, community hospital, I don't really have a teams of people helping me. You have to do whatever that needs to promote your own ultrasound, make Canva, make poster, use Instagram, whatever that you need to PR, make this game more popular so that you can have more sponsorship, more funding, and better game next year. So this was my first ITLS, International Trauma Life Support. That's ITLS stand for. This was the one of the game. I usually make this summary, summarize it, present, and promote. So this was my first Sono Olympic and registration. Station 1, Phantom versus the human. They're supposed to replicate the exact image that is shown on the iPad. And they're trying to find the exact image, how fast they can do using different medium like lotion, gel, shampoo. This is a station 2 for vascular scavenger hunt relay. They have to find vascular or nerve. And station 3, ultra technicolor disco. This is a son of one of the resident physicians. He was the champion of this entire Sono Olympic that day. And This was my first Sono Olympic. Simple game, not many participants, not many decoration. And this is the second time. Now I have a little more promotion, photographer, more participant. I had a resident physician helping me. We spent like 5-6 hours making all these balloons and decorations, all this same area, now more decorations. So this was 2022. And this was 2023. Now more props, more decoration, more people, because now this is the third year. And more vendors, bigger rooms, and prettier decoration, more experienced. That's it. My hope is that my experience is creating this Olympic, encouraging you to do that for your community, your hospital, and your program. As you can see, my first Sono Olympic was very small, small station, no vendors, no sponsorship, and it grows, and your experience will get better each year as well. If you have any question, here is my email. You can ask me question. And big thanks to Mindray, Butterfly, and Sono Sims to make my Sono Olympic possible. And thanks to myself, and including all the resident physician helping me, but mostly thanks to myself to not sleep day before, making all these jellos, making my entire house sticky. And this is one of my biggest joy, to spread love of education of POCUS. So thank you for watching and listening.
Thank you so much, Dr. Choi. This has been so much fun, and thank you for all of your hard work. And we're very thankful that you shared the model with our community. But now we're going to play some games ourselves, right? So we have a couple of questions for the audience. There are quiz questions, so let's see if you were following along. So our first question is, what is the ideal number of stations for a Sono Olympics event if there are 20 learners organized into teams of 2? And I'll give a minute for everyone to answer the questions. If you have any questions for Dr. Choi, also feel free to submit it to Q&A. We'll do this after this poll. All right, I see we have about 20% of people who are on the call participating in the poll, so feel free to answer the question now. We'll give maybe another 10 seconds. All right. And we're going to share the results now. All right, Dr. Choi, do you want to comment on this? Because we had 33% answering correctly and about 67% answering incorrectly. Oh, you muted. Do you want to unmute yourself, Dr. Choi?
I think the correct answer is 10 stations.
Is it 10 stations?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So then we have some people answered correctly. So we good. All right. Next one. Can Sono Olympics be tailored to accommodate learners of all levels, including paramedics and rescuers? This may be an easy question. But let's see. We have people answering. And this is correct answer is yes. Yay. So everyone is getting that. Let's go to the next question. How fast the EFAS station conducted and scored? This may be. So the first one is participants performed a hockey sack race followed by a quick EFAS scan. Scoring was based on accuracy only. Second one, participants performed hockey sacks and then an EFAS scan. Scoring was based on the time spent performing hockey sacks. And then the third one is participant performed a quick EFAS scan after completing hockey sacks. Scoring was based on the accuracy of the EFAS scan only. And the last one is participant performed hockey sack and then EFAS scan. Scoring was based on total time spent, sequence of the fast scan, and accuracy of the scans. And the last one is none of the above. So this may be the hardest one. So I'll give another minute for everyone to answer. Again, if you have any questions for Dr. Choi, please feel free to submit them in the Q&A box so we can address those. Okay. I think the activity is kind of stopped, so I'm gonna share the results with everyone. And most of you answered correctly, 64%. So great, thank you so much, everyone. I have one last question before we leave. And again, we're available for questions for Dr. Choi. We still have some time. But before you leave, if you would like to answer the question on your screen, this helps us to plan our future webinars, and also you can provide feedback about this current webinar with your comments. But again, if you have any questions, we're here. We have a little bit more time. And if not, thank you so much for joining. This was recorded and will be published in a week. And you'll also get a link via email to access this recording. And thank you so much, Dr. Choi, for showing your expertise and sharing your fun games. It's been very exciting, and thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.
Great. Well, I don't see anyone with questions. I see a couple of comments in the chat. This was very cool to see. Fun, clever way to promote engagement. Very interesting and fun learning. Thank you, everyone, for your feedback. But we'll wait a little bit more, maybe 5 more minutes. If anyone wants to ask any questions, give feedback, feel free. We can also unmute you if that's easier. This webinar has been concluded, so you feel free to leave the room, or if you have any questions, just let us know. But thank you so much again, Dr. Choi. We'll see you next time, and thank you again for contributing your knowledge. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good one. Thank you, everyone. We'll see you next month.